Welcome to Whiskey Conversations. Today I'm here with Theresa Smith, otherwise known as Canadian Whiskey Smith.
That's right.
Because, you know, you're from Canada, it turns out.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. And it's definitely, it's not that I'm the Canadian whiskey Smith.
Person. You're a Canadian.
Canadian whiskey Smith.
So is it a little too tropey that we're going to drink Canadian whiskey together?
Well, no, because I am Canadian and, I mean, this is a brand that kind of got me started with whiskey.
Did you see my recent video where I ranted about, I did the video called Is Canadian Whiskey Good?
Yes.
And what I said was,
Yes.
you hoard all the good stuff. And yes, it is very good. And Alberta Premium was one of the ones I named as like legit making rye whiskey. And you brought this bottle, Alberta Premium 9-year-old rye. Mm-hmm. First, let's just cheers and thank you for being here. Oh, look at that. That is good. That's got a little more character and drama.
So this one, the reason I brought this, I wanted to make sure that you had it. It's not an overly expensive bottle.
Yeah.
But Alberta Premium got me into drinking whiskey when I was first getting started. And this one, it's 9 years old, but it's golden rye. Like it's not their standard. I actually don't know what type of rye they usually use at ADL, but it tasted golden. Like when I tried it, it kind of reminded me of a little bit of Golden Grams and had that sweetness. And it's 45%. So they're putting something out there that's a little more
weighty.
And I like that. So yeah.
And I forgot to say, but Theresa is one of our level 4 whiskey somms, and we're here together because you're in town to judge the next batch of whiskey 4s who are actually all
right.
over there. We're going to work with them this afternoon.
You know what? Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. They're a good group of folks, and looking forward to welcoming them to the.
I'm going to ask you about level 4 in a second, but first, what you got into whiskey through the door of Alberta? Well, why? How?
Well, you know, when you're young and you're just starting out with things, you try to figure out what you like, and sometimes it's easier to figure out what you don't like. And I knew that I really did not like beer.
Okay.
And wine.
Are you even Canadian?
There are those who would question it, but you know, it's also I'm not really into wine. And then somebody introduced me to highballs.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, like I started kind of exploring cocktails. So I'm like, yeah, spiritualist. And then, but they're expensive sometimes, especially to get a good one. But then when I discovered highballs, I'm like, rye and Coke. It became my drink.
Oh yeah.
Right? And I could get a Mickey of Alberta Premium. And
what's a Mickey?
it's Canadian for,
like
you
the
know,
larger size or a mini size?
A Texas Mickey is like the 10 gallons of whiskey in a bottle. A normal Mickey is like your 350 to 500.
Oh, okay. It's like a half bottle almost.
Like a half bottle,
like a flask boot.
Flasky almost, yeah. So
gotcha.
we call them Mickeys up in Canada.
So you could get that for $10?
For $10 and a 6-pack of Coke, and I could go camping all weekend and keep up with my friends who were like pounding the beers. I'm like, this is, you know, just give me a solo cup and I can handle this.
Good.
So that was one of the things. And as it turned out, I'm like, well, that got me thinking, well, is rye just code for whiskey or is it actually like made with rye? That was one of my first existential, you know, as a Canadian.
And it is an existential crisis of Canadian whiskey.
In Canadian whiskey, it can be. So I'm like, well, no, it actually is, with Alberta Premium anyways, it actually is made with rye, which I love. And then when I found out that they are one of the oldest producers in Canada, oldest producer in our province anyways, because I'm from Alberta, they've been around now for, I believe they just had their 80th. So, you know, not new.
Right.
And they have been selling stuff to other brands. And
Whistle Pig anyone?
Whistle Pig anyone. Like it's Whistle Pig, they're selling it to these other brands that are buying it, bottling it, and winning awards with higher proof. And it's like, why aren't you doing it yourself? So they've been doing their cast strength editions, and those things are fantastic. The final batch 5, is going to be the last official one, apparently.
Okay.
Which is kind of disappointing. But then they come out with something like this, which, you know, it's a step up from the original, and it's just nice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So you're going from, what was the transition for you that took you from like just trying rye and wondering about rye and grain to like, I'm a whiskey person. Because it was somewhere, and my other question is, how close from that realization was it before you showed up in Austin at the Whiskey Somm School?
Well, it was actually a lot of years because I just kind of just dabbled here and there, and I was on the hunt for something. I liked a little bit of oomph with my drinks. So I was always on the hunt for something a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And then it wasn't
the journey. That's the whiskey journey, yeah.
Yes. But it wasn't until 2016. So this is, a good 15, 20-ish years of dabbling. I went on vacation to Tennessee with my folks.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, what do you want to do in Tennessee? And I'm like, Jack Daniels. Jack Daniels is in Tennessee. We could go to Jack Daniels. Maybe it's going to be 4-hour drive in each direction.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to Jack Daniels. But turns out there were a couple little moonshine distilleries in Gatlinburg area.
Yes,
so my dad and he's like, why do you want to do this? I don't know. I just think it would be fun. So dad came with me. I'd never been out drinking with my dad. First time. And we go to this.
That's pretty cool.
It was. And he went from, why do you want to do this, to we're in the back doing the tour and they're going through the distillation things. My dad has a background in construction and designing heating and cooling systems.
Oh, yeah.
So you got a heat exchanger basically, and this is this kind of thing and all this stuff. He's asking more questions. They gave us paper and pencils to make notes. They're like, nobody ever actually does it, but we still give everybody the stuff. And my dad was making notes. So I get my notes. Yeah, he's like, oh, okay, this and that. And he's asking more questions and getting nerdier about their process than I ever thought. Then we went back and we did the tasting with the guy. And halfway through the tasting, my dad turned to me. He's like, you host karaoke on the side. You could go back to Calgary. You could do this. You could do tastings.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, right. But that was the thing that opened the door in my brain to, hey, I could take this further. Yeah. And
your dad believing in you.
My dad believed. God damn it! Isn't that the way it is? Dads believing in their kids. That's
that's the thing.
That's the thing. And yeah, it was about 2 years later is when I finally ended up here. I did my first whiskey course, was the Whiskey Ambassador program in the fall of 2017. And then it was about 6 months later, I came here.
There you go.
And then it was 6 months later, I came back.
Yeah.
And 6 months later, I came back. Yeah. And then it was another 6 years before there was a level 4.
Yeah, because it took me a very long time to build level 4. And I'm sorry, but yes.
But you know what? It was worth waiting for, because that was a trip.
And everybody who walked through on level 4 was like, Theresa had the most prep, the most notes, the most ready to go. Everyone walked in and was like, well, crap. We thought we had prepared, and then Theresa showed up and showed us all the things she'd been doing, and we were like, we have underprepared. We are nowhere in the same league. That has maintained. There's what is it? Souter showed up at the judging yesterday, and he brought out all this thick stack of notes that he had prepped for the judging, and he said, so I channeled my inner Theresa, and I made some notes, and I'm like, yeah, I think that's going to be a verb now. Yeah.
Yes.
Have you always been that way, just like hyper prep, over prep?
No, well, I shouldn't say that. It depends. When it comes to things that I'm passionate about, I just go all in on it. And there were a few people when I was first starting to get into whiskey, and this is something that legitimately happens. You start exploring and people don't understand, and they're like, should we be concerned? Yeah. You're drinking alcohol. And it's good. It's good to have those people who just do those check-ins with you, right? Yeah. And again, it was my dad was one of the ones who kind of stepped in and was like, no, this is just Theresa. When she finds a rabbit hole, she just goes all in. So I love prepping stuff for events. So when it's like, oh, well, you're going to have a choice of 3 different things for your vault tasting. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, well, I need tasting mats, because you got to have a tasting mat, because that's what, it makes the experience.
That's what you do at tastings.
That's what you do at tasting. So I had 3 tasting mats.
Well, and I keep seeing you, running events for other brands now, and you're all over the place up there.
It's a lot of fun. I love going to trade shows and being able, you got things in front of you, and people walk up and they're like, so what's the best thing you've got? And it's like, well, what do you like first? Like we gotta start. Well, what do you like? I'm like, well, I like everything. I wouldn't be standing behind the table if I didn't like everything that's here. And so it's interesting though to find people and meet them where they're at. And that was one of the things I think that really connected me on that first distillery experience. I remember like going back, and the guy that was leading it, he wasn't there to, lord anything over or, try and just do a one-upman or anything like that. He just met us where we were at and talked through their processes at this distillery. And then he talked us through the tasting and the products. And it was like, oh, I came away feeling like I'd had an experience. I came away feeling like somebody had just opened a door for me.
Yeah.
And then when I went to one of my first whiskey festivals, the same thing. I remember going up to this one table, and the guy that was there, we got talking, and I have this little notebook that I make notes, and people know me for my notebook now. And I'm like nerding out, and he's like, I can see that you seem to be into whiskey. He's like, here, let me grab this. And so he grabbed this bottle from under the table, and it was their VIP pour. I wasn't there. I hadn't paid for the VIP, but he pulled it out.
We see each other. We know.
Yeah. He's like, here, try this. And then we had a really great conversation. I now do contract work with him and his wife. We've built that relationship. And I love that. It's such a... Yeah.
It's a connection.
It's a connection.
What is your favorite pour that you've done with your dad since getting fully into the whiskey industry? A one where you may have sat and gone, you remember when we got into this in those tours? But now we're getting to do this together?
You know what? Oh, yeah, I'm really not sure. But I would say that it was just about 3 years ago, I guess now. We were doing another family little vacation, and we ended up in Asheville this time.
Oh, yeah.
And we ended up at this little place called Chemist Spirits because Zach had recommended it.
Yeah.
And they didn't have their whiskey yet, but Dad and I, he's like, okay, yeah, no. Instead of me having to explain why do I want to go to a distillery, he's like, yeah, sure, we're going to go do that. And it was just, and then then they had gin. And so we're trying their gins. And then Dad's buying like 3 bottles off of their wall. And I'm buying a little travel pack because I had to fly with it. So, it's been those little experiences along the way. And then they have a whiskey now as well. So he bought that. That first distillery, Sugarland Shine, was the one. Yeah. They had their roaming man. Dad bought the batch 10 of their roaming man rye.
That's cool.
For me. And I remember he was so excited to give it to me on my next visit down, which was like 8 months after he bought it. And when we opened it and tasted it, it was fantastic. We're like, so cool. You know what, that attention to detail, that we're doing this for the experience that we had back in 2016. And it's, 4 or 5 years later. And we had that, we relived that experience around drinking that bottle. Every time I open it, it just makes me think of Dad.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for the great whiskey. Cheers to you, and to you. Thank you for being here. I'm really glad you're here. If you like Canadian whiskey and or other types of whiskeys and Canadian people, and even if you don't, then
I'm sorry.
But also, but you should like and subscribe.